Hello. This is Mindset to Results, and today our guest is Endre Hoffman. He is Doctor of Self-Worth. Hi, Endre.
Thanks very much. It's great to be on your show, on your stage.
Yeah, you're welcome. Today we are going to have a very interesting conversation, self-worth. Tell us a little bit about your story, how you came to this idea to become Doctor of Self-Worth and help people to raise their self-esteem and confidence through self-worth.
Well, the way it happened, I've been struggling with self-worth for about 34 years. And I thought I am beyond help and I'm hopeless. I spent over $100,000. I moved 4 countries. I've tried corporate career, sports. I have spent a lot of money to be able to find out what's wrong with me. The question was wrong in the first place. But what I found out in this process was I had some trouble with my dad when I was young. And he was never sort of loving. I never felt that he loved me. He was quite ignorant, very critical. And probably early on in my life, which I didn't remember, I must have decided that I'm not good enough or I'm unworthy of his love, attention, and care. And I've lived for the next 30 years with those, I call them mind viruses in my head. And unfortunately, the problem was that my mind was gathering evidence for my not being good enough or unworthiness. And I was in this catch-22 where I didn't know what to do. I was trying to impress people. I was trying to prove myself to anyone, anytime, and measuring up to others. So that's how most of my childhood was spent. And I became a high achiever to gain my father's love and recognition. But my grandparents and my dad never had in their vocabulary the word congratulations or well done. It was missing. And then I started traveling. I realized maybe the answers are outside. And I lived in New Zealand for 7 years. I moved to Ireland and later on in Australia, where I am now. And 6 years ago, my life was about to collapse. I was, again, had these beliefs that I have to work hard for money. And there's not enough time or money. And that was my life. I hated myself. I was working 12 hours a day here in Sydney. And being able to be a dad and inspire my children, which didn't go well. And I remember that week, again, I was working 12-hour days. I had a side business to break out of the job. So probably I worked 14, 15 hours a day. I slept a little. And I had no time for my family, no time for my kids. And I was telling them over a decade by that time is that things would change. Almost like, these alcoholics who never changed their lives. That was me. And I spent all these courses, the books and seminars, all these things with John DeMartini, Anthony Robbins, like the biggest names. And nothing seemed to work. What happened was on that week, I almost had an accident because I was sleep drunk. And my kids, again, usually I had a little connection time together. And I was telling them bedside stories. And I was, again, falling asleep always when I was reading. And I allowed them to slap me in the face. And that night became, again, a slapping competition. And I was so ashamed because I was running away from my dad, do exactly the opposite things. Yet 30 years later, I have this life, which was pretty much exactly like what he did. And the next morning, my wife asked me, is it time for us to divorce? And that was probably the lowest point in my life. And I made a decision. At that point, I made a decision that things have to change. And I don't care what, but I need to find something. I gave up all of my long list of goals that I never achieved. And I took a vow. And I said to my wife, I'm never going to finish this madness until we have an inspiring life, more freedom, and I could be a dad I've never had and I always wanted to be. So from there, within a few months, I found a mindset coach and work with him in the next 6 to 12 months has completely changed who I felt myself to be, my worthiness. And when I realized I have transformed after 34 years, I wanted to do the same things for others and shorten the journey of transformation, not for 3 decades, 6 to 9 months. And this is where the Doctor of Self-Worth story started. And ever since, I've been helping groups and one-on-one people from different continents, from the 3 big time zones. And I've been having more freedom. We traveled for 6 or 7 months last year, and I'm just relocating my family back to Europe. There's a lot of things happening, but most importantly, my kids have a new dad.
Yeah, that is really, really important. So let's just discuss a little bit about what you shared with us now. So you told that you had 32 years journey to understand the reason of why you were not getting the desired results. And based on what you said, the reason was inside of you. Is it right?
Well, I was trying to understand the reason, but unfortunately, I was doing all these learnings and courses and reading all of these things, and I didn't know what the problem was. Because, as you know, subconscious or unconscious mind means that it was outside of my awareness. This is why I was stuck.
Yes, it is good that you said outside of your awareness. And it is so true that people are in their like in their box. Yes, like those mental programs, they are like mental prison, which put the person in certain box, and he can see reality just within this place, within this area, and all the life that is around just passing by, and he is just here. Yes, this mental prison. And people, I like how you said that they are not aware. They're not aware. They see the world as through those through the filters, like prism of those programs, how they had been programmed, and even without their control. Because as you shared your story, your father didn't show you love, didn't encourage you. Yes, your parents, grandparents, that was not a common thing in your family. So you had been programmed a certain way, and all your life everything you did was controlled by those programs.
Pretty much. I would say I was a victim of my own mind, or let's say the conditioning or the programming that I've had from before. And it really pointed out something key, that this mind usually doesn't have a concept of time. So we pick up things earlier in life, and sometimes they are traumatic. And we just carry the same mindset, almost as if a computer didn't get upgrades for 10, 20, 30 years. I find massive limitations running people's lives, and they have no idea about what's happening until, someone comes from outside, like probably you and myself, and they have a wake-up call.
Yes, but what I noticed that some people are so deep in those programs that even when they hear that, like, it looks like they come, let's say, to a good doctor who has a good remedy for them and sees exactly what they need, but they are so deep in those programs that they reject everything. it looks like they, on the one hand, they want to change and they think that they do hard whatever they think it's right. But on the other hand, when they hear something that is outside of that box, they just reject. They just say, I don't like this. Who is that? Or that has like, something himself to recover. Yeah, like it is like just bouncing back from that cocoon where they are. So did you see these people in your life, and how you think what can help them to start accepting that there is something bigger than what they see, and this is all inside of them that they have to change?
My experience is that some people are not at the stage of, let's say, development, I have to say, that they can take responsibility for the results they are getting in their lives. So when one is in this unconscious or subconscious state, remember, I believe the subconscious mind loves status quo, what it knows, even if it sucks and it's bad. So the mind then deploys any type of strategy to grow even more strategies for self-sabotage to keep them in the problem where they are. And as you said, exactly, when people are in the problem, there's nothing they ever see than the problem. And they are at that point beyond help. But when I think there comes a stage when there is so many signals, maybe you talk to them or I talk to them, and then they see a video. So there is these small, tiny pieces of information. And when they have that idea that maybe it's somehow my creation or co-creation, then I believe it's the time for us to really be able to help them, because until that point, they are literally walking blindfolded. And they don't admit it that somehow they are causing the problem. And I believe those are the people we need to, let's say, work with. And I love to give away a lot of free stuff for all the other people who are still searching, like myself. Remember, I was searching answers on the outside, and I slowly picked up information. And the problem is this, what I found, those people, because probably I've done a whole university around self-confidence and problem, but I couldn't fix myself. So I believe it's not IQ, it's not lexical knowledge. They need either guidance or a new experience of themselves. So reading a book is not deep work. That's why they will need you and me forever.
Yes, and usually what I noticed that people don't see the cause and effect, and they just see effect, and they don't understand that the cause is themselves, that the only problem is in them and only solution is in them. So they usually blame everything and everybody outside, and they can do the same, but if they do that, they find the reason why it is not problem, not bad. But if they see other people doing the same, they would blame them and react.
I agree. But I believe there comes a point, and I think that's where they sort of getting ready for a breakthrough. If there is enough pain, like the pain threshold, and usually it's financial collapse, health, family breakdowns, relationships breaking down, that's, I believe, when there's maximum pain for them to commit or look at things in a different way. And I believe that's when one sort of matures through repetition and pain to now open up to a new life and maybe a coaching relationship or something as they haven't tried before. Because this was probably what I was doing myself. I said, I'm not going to give up. I keep looking and keep finding some sort of fix. So if you're listening to us I would suggest you don't give up, ever give up on yourself or whether change is possible. But I really want to shortcut this for you. The way to actually get change is in the world now. You look around, there's amazing specialists who are able to take you from a specific problem to a specific result. So look at the problem that you have and find someone who has done the transformation on himself somehow. And now he has consistent results getting from the same problem that you had, from the problem to the solution. And all you need to do is just commit to the process. And I believe these days you deserve some kind of security or guarantee, because as you know, I wasted a lot of money, $100,000, and it didn't work. So I now tell people that, look, if it's not working, then probably you're wasting your money. But then don't spend their years when nothing has changed. Then get your money back and move on.
Yeah. And also, I think such people, they mostly think about past. So instead of understanding that today is the new beginning, and today I can live past in the past and just make decision how I want to live my life and put my attention to that direction and see what I can do today to get myself closer, at least to start moving to that direction of my goal and of my dreams. And how was it for you when you made that decision? How was it for you? How you helped yourself to study thinking about now and tomorrow and future, and cut those negative thoughts and those negative scenarios, which so often just running as that movie 24/7 in people's mind when they feel stuck.
What a good question. I would just go back to what you shared, and what I found people are at times, they are way out in the future in anxiety, really putting their attention out into the future, so they are not in the now, not in the present. That's one way where people get lost. And the other way, yes, they are replaying past stories or limitations. And I call this taming the mind. And I think it's a lot to do with initially. And I still believe if someone really wants to accelerate themselves to a new level of leadership and self-worth, self-confidence, I believe if they want to do this fast, in the beginning, they need a boost, because the past events, whatever happened, keep them in the loop. So if someone comes in, they're able to disconnect those, let's say, loops and repetitions, then I believe the person will have more control, let's say, more empowerment from their minds. And I used affirmations, I used meditations, all kinds of things, but very slow and very sporadic tiny results. I believe the real difference maker was having someone who has disconnected these negative thinking patterns, where I was beating myself up, was angry at myself, was asking why my life is not making any sense. What am I here to do? Am I ever going to be successful? I didn't even know what success was. And I think I was lost in these patterns and I had no direction. And whatever I had tried, this was the problem. I did take action. So I think massive action is not the solution. I did take action. I did I drove 3 of my side hustles into the ground because of my patterns. I could not break through on the corporate environment and getting a proper career. So I'm not too sure if I answered your question. Probably I lost myself in answering you. But I guess it does take, I I believe with a coach or a micro group approach, if the old stories are disconnected, then literally there is a new mind to support you on the journey. And that mind will be more loving, more friendly, and more so supporting you through the way. But it's pretty much learning about, I believe, self-love.
Yes, and I think that it is not just easy just to disconnect, right? What helps in many cases when we give the meaning to the story, like when we think what happened, and then we give that story another meaning. So before on automatic pilot, it is all about being victim, that this is negative experience happened, that's why I am now this way and I am now stuck. But if we understand that everything what happened, we give the meaning, right? So we have the choice to give the story another meaning. And if you look from another perception, if you use our perception, right, and look at from another point of view, and we can see what good we can find good for that situation, even if it is so bad, but still, according to the law of opposites, there is the same amount, the same equivalent of good in everything bad, because everything has positive and negative, cold and hot, up and down, inside out, little big, right? So if we find the positive meaning, that it will help us not to be in that loop anymore, and we can start connecting what can we find positive and how we can use this positive now to build our positive future. And this is how this little bridge can start being built, and we can start focus our energy to something positive and something how we can do, not maybe even to like repeat that experience and what we learned and how it can help us in our life. Do you agree with that?
I agree. I may have a different take on this, how I explain it, very similar to yours. Like I normally ask people, how do you think you built your personality or the identity who you think you are? Well, it's been a summary of what happened to you or what you think has happened to you or how you interpreted the things that others people done to you or you did yourself. And this is the big bag of the past. And that is what we call, well, your level of identity or your self-worth. And the way to change it, as you said, is if there is anything limiting in your past, then because you have this very selective mind at any moment in time, and some events from the past usually have some negative emotions attached to them, and people used to carry this heavy baggage, we call it in English, from the past. And if we are able to shift and change the stories of the past, it changes how you experience yourself. And in this context, time does not exist, because once you change your identity in the past, it changes who you are in today, in the present. And that means you are unlocking new potential, new opportunities in your life, and you will tend to see those things coming towards you, which they have been there for a long time, by the way. But as you said, Elena, the mind has been filtering out abundance, filtering out, that you're good enough or you're a genius or your creativity. And this type of transformations usually open up a new space where you come to the present and opportunities show up seemingly from nowhere.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Let's speak about people who are driven and understand that they meant to have more, do more, and everything they tried didn't work the way they expected, and they just got burnout and got depressed. Did you meet these people in your practice, and how did you help them to recover and come out from this hole with improving their self-worth?
Yes, absolutely. I met quite a few. And we need to change the recipe, how their ingredients, how they do their own depression or feeling low self-worth, because usually there is something that they tell themselves, or usually there's something in their environment, maybe a job which is not what they want to do, or maybe a partner who is not sort of cut out of their dreams. There is something outside of them that usually they assign a meaning to, as you said. And when we're able to change the meanings of anything around them, or even what happens, because they have less than ideal results, obviously, in their business, in their relationships, then we can rebuild a new identity, a new self-image. And when that starts to happen, and this is why I love self-image work or self-worth work, because it starts to affect thoughts about themselves or about others or about the world, then changes how they feel or how they communicate to themselves or others. And they start to show up in a different way, which then change the results that they're getting. And sometimes it's marginal, and sometimes it's fairly fast. And this is why I'm in this, because I love these beautiful text messages and calls that, hey, they're not abusive to me anymore, or I got this deal from nowhere, and all we did, we just changed how they have been seeing themselves. And external is nothing else. And then I'm talking about information, people, business results, or money. It's pretty much a reflection.
Yeah, exactly. And what I thought about when you were saying about this, that there is a myth that everything can be healed by pills from pharmaceutical store. And people get into depression and they just go directly to doctors, to psychiatrists, and they just give them the medicine. And then they found themselves that their anxiety even becomes worse, and they are in fog, they can't think well. And it is all, I think it is all comes from ignorance. Yes, like we have knowledge, and opposite is ignorance. So as we discuss this situation, I think that again, I would like to emphasize that you are the only problem and you are the only solution. So if you find yourself not in the right place, it is just like alarm for you to just see what you do to yourself. Maybe you don't acknowledge yourself. Maybe you want to do so much and you don't even see how much you do, and you just think that you are not enough, or maybe you want to do even more than your capacity, right? And you work so much and you don't love yourself, you don't rest well, and that is why nervous system just can collapse, because it's just too much. And when this happens, it is like alarm for you to look inside and see, analyze what you have been doing before, like how you came to this, and change inside, change your mind. Just decide that you are going to love yourself, to put yourself first, and get that confidence back, get that self-worth back, understand that you are the only one creature with these unique talents and gifts, and you have such a big value. Nobody is like you, and everything should come the second.
Yes, I agree. And what comes to mind is, pharmacology, I believe there is a level of anxiety and mental states where pharmacology is necessary. But what I see happening is that they sign them up for life. So even if they improve, then I don't see that the mainstream is really helping people to heal. It's more so about managing their states somehow. And as you said, it's a very valid point that pharmacology or the pills could be an avoidance to face and confront the problem that they have. If they put themselves to sleep with not being present and not really deal with the problem, and I see a few people who say, oh, and this is, I believe, is self-sabotage. I will keep going back to the same therapy, I don't want to name it, because I believe the big governments and the state is funding this. But the results are not happening. And it's been a decade. Are you able to take ownership and take responsibility? Because I believe at the end of your life, probably you will have some insights and new understandings that, from me, I'm okay if you keep doing the things that don't change anything in your life. But there would be a point, I guess. And for a lot of people, it's their deathbed when they realize, oh, they lived a half-lived life, or they tiptoed through to the grave rather than make decisions and change the way they do. And sometimes it's actually changing jobs. Sometimes it's changing and try to do a business or maybe travel and not live by whatever they tell you to do. Because I can tell you there are lots of people out there in white robes, and maybe the boss is one of them. He will probably tell you what to do. And the school is telling you what to think. They always have the answers for you. And you get the good marks when you repeat the answers. But then how are you going to have your own life?
Yes, this is very, very right. We have been conditioned to learn information, repeat, and this is how we were getting our grades. But we were not taught how to implement, yes, and how to create something new. So it is a big gap between what we know and what we do. And so many people working like encyclopedias have so much general knowledge, and they stuck in life because they don't know how to practically live and make decisions, because they just learned how to repeat information from outside, right? And again, back to this situation with pharmaceutical drugs, yeah, I would say we should be very careful about that, because if you look totally in pharmaceutical industry, it is just these drugs are prescribed to remove the symptoms. They're not prescribed to find out what is the cause of the situation and treat the cause so the symptoms will go away, right? It is like alarm. Symptoms come alarm to say something is wrong. We have to put attention. Something is wrong here, and we just shut off alarm and we don't address what is the reason. And the same, people get pills, but they don't address what caused that situation, and they continue to live in with the same thoughts, the same way of making decision, the same patterns of their habitual behavior, and that is nothing changes.
Yeah, I think the two big missing pieces of modern psychology, and I'm not saying all of them, but mainstream, is that there is no, it's not future-based. So they don't actually set goals of what they want. And once you start focusing on the past and talking about the past and analyzing the past, you will create more and more of the past, which is reliving the loops of repeating lack of results. And the other one is that most clients are at their victim state, so they have not made a commitment or a decision to change. If these two things are missing, I don't believe there will be long-term, long-lasting solutions. And I have to say, probably that's the goal. If I look at the big picture, I don't think governments want free people and capable people with resourcefulness who are able to make decisions for themselves. Because what that means is the earlier manipulation or how they lead them to votes and comply will be challenged. And that's a problem that they need to deal with at that point.
Yes, and yes, exactly. I think it is very important topic. Maybe sometime we again discuss it more deeply. And now just I wanted to finalize our conversation and get back to self-worth. So if somebody is listening to us now or when they listen replay, what would be your advice to people related self-worth? How you see that self-worth is something that they have to focus on first and then just build their everything, their new life brick by brick based on their self-worth?
Well, to be honest, I would not recommend the long way, which I did. Yeah, you could read books, go into seminars, but you can't get the time back that you lost, which I did 30 years. So, well, if your life is meaningful and you want more happiness, joy, you want to be feeling good about yourself, as I said before, look for someone who has been able to consistently get results from lack of self-worth, lack of confidence, to reconnect, rebuild people, and don't waste decades and relationships and money, which I all did. So look for someone who has consistent results, look at testimonials, and get creative. Maybe you don't have the money, maybe you need to sign up and become an apprentice. You find a way, and maybe you save X amount and you just keep paying them weekly for a small amount, whatever it is, and work with them. Shorten the process, because, well, long way, I believe, is not what you deserve. If you're listening to us after this point, then don't waste decades. It's not fun. It's not fun trying to work it out yourself, because the problem is you will always wear the filters. So wherever you look, the books that you read, the seminars, you're going with your beliefs. And of course, you're filtering every information. So we will do what's comfortable and what eventually will lead you back to your previous old self with the problems that you have. And you know, make a decision that you want out, break out of your old self and get expert help. It's that easy. And then
Yes, and yes, Endre, follow.
That's all.
Yes, and once you choose that expert, I would say just trust him and trust the process. Just make the decision that you already done your way and it didn't work. So from this moment, just make decision just to follow the process, do what your expert mentor says you step by step, and you will get in a very good place. Yeah, because it is not easy. It will be hard work, because those old paradigms, all those programs, they would like to dominate again. But it needs determination, consistency, and decision, and just follow the process. And your life can be changed when you make that mindset shift. As Endre said today and shared his story, just making that mindset shift, working from within and starting focusing your energy to what you want instead of what you don't, it will make a huge difference in your life.
Well, there's just one more thing. I don't believe that if you sign up for someone and there's nothing ever changes inside you for 6 to 12 months, well, challenge the situation. I don't think there is this weekly or bi-weekly work or whatever it is, and then at the end there will be this big miracle. I don't believe in that. I believe there is tiny and bigger breakthroughs, which is changing how you feel about yourself, changing how you think. That's what would make a difference. So I would challenge you, if you show up at someone where you're not getting results, that's again a way to self-sabotage yourself. So I would say 3 to 6 months minimum. Stick with the person, but if there is nothing changing, then probably you picked someone who is not the right person for you, or you haven't connected well, or you haven't made a decision. That then you need again someone who can point out where you get lost.
Yeah, and there is another way around of this. If you don't see the difference, it means that you maybe not done the work which you have to do. Yes, so it is not just buying the program, it is doing the work. It is like always two sides. The mentor can only help you the way how you can accept it, right? How you can do your work. So it is always both sides, I would say.
Yes,
And
I agree. But I wouldn't
yeah.
say it's got to be a hard work. I don't believe in working hard at all. I believe it's painless. It's about, as we said, identity. If you have a new identity, it will be reflected outside. Yes, you will need to probably do things that you haven't done before. It doesn't need to be that hard.
Yes, all comes from decision, right? Like once we made decision that enough is enough and I'm not going to be that person anymore, I want to get those results, we see that clear picture, and then we get inspired and it helps us to overcome all the challenges and block rocks. Yeah, but again, everything starts within from you. You should have the desire and be willing to make the change. Thank you, Endre. It was amazing conversation. I really enjoyed, and I'm sure that so many people will also benefit from it. And I am looking forward to continue again with another episode. And I wish you all the best. And below this video, we will put all the details, contact how to get out to Endre, contact to him, ask for help, never get isolated. There is always somebody who can help you, and we are always here to serve you and do our best.
Beautiful. Thank you for having me on your stage. And last idea I've got for you, if you're listening to us, well, put yourself into the right environment. Really look for those people, coaches, mentors who are feeding your mind, really taking you towards that path. And maybe this is 5, 6, or 8 of them. Probably I've been following similar influencers for a decade now, and they help me, they nurture me, almost as if I'm being reparented to a new version of me. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Yeah, it was so great conversation, and thank you, Endre, to come here and having this 1 hour, which we had this discussion. And see you again.
Thanks very much. See you soon.